What advice would you have for others pursuing the profession or maybe currently involved?
Absolutely. Real time. And get on the computer the minute you begin learning your theory. Do not be afraid to display your real time immediately, because you cannot hide your output and be successful in this profession now. And if you grow up never having that fear, for all of us that had to suddenly wear our underwear on the outside, it was really difficult. But if you don't have that fear from the day you start reporting, it's just going to be like breathing. And you've got real time is the future.
If a career counselor interviewed you, how would you describe the profession?
Court reporting is so diverse. Every day is different. And I've been doing this now since 1988. So what, 22 years. And I still learn new things on a daily basis. I said that we know just a little bit about everything, enough to be dangerous. I can explain a brain surgery. I can tell you how to wire an elevator panel. And it's that quest for knowledge. If you have a vacuum kind or a sponge kind of a mind, reporting's wonderful because you sit and you learn so much every day, and the remuneration is fabulous and you're respected. I mean, I was a legal secretary for a very, very brief period of time, and I went in and told my boss that I had to quit, and he said, why? And I said, I've made a huge career error because I realized no matter how good I get, you're never going to promote me to attorney. And I knew how attorneys treated staff and how they treat court reporters, and we have so much more respect, and it's not fair, but it's a nice perk of our job. I mean, people respect what we do and how difficult it is.
Switching gears to association work, give us a little history of how you got involved in working with the association. I take it you worked in Tennessee.
Yes.
And then maybe contemporaneous with that or soon thereafter, the National Association. Tell us why, how, and in what areas you worked.
Well, actually, before I was a reporter, I also, when I wasn't working for the lawyer, worked for the Florida Association of Broadcasters. So I've actually been staff for an association, and I know the value of associations. And as I mentioned to you, when my teacher, we joined NCRA the minute we were students, and you always aspired to serve. It was just something that maybe it's the way my parents just raised me, is you give back to your profession. So in Florida, I only practiced for about 1.5 years, and I didn't work in the association then. I felt like I was still too new and I was still learning. But when I came to Tennessee, I found the association, and it was sort of in a decline at the time. They hadn't billed members for like 2 years, and they didn't. Their last convention was a CPR class. And so I volunteered to do the convention, and their bylaws were written that if you were the convention chair, you were also the vice president. So I immediately became vice president of the association and quickly became president. And because there were so few people in Tennessee, I actually ran for director of NCRA to protect myself from being recycled through the chairs forever in Tennessee. So I went from being immediate past president of Tennessee directly onto the NCRA board. And then I ran the chairs. I was on NCRA's board for 7 years.
Other than, of course, being president, what position or committee membership gave you the most satisfaction?
I love doing conventions. It was my favorite thing to do, and planning and putting together themes and having people come and say that, I had to come for the CEUs, but I learned so much, and I've gotten my money's worth. That was always really satisfying to me.
At some point when you got involved in the National Association, did you recognize it as being also a political beast?
Well, perhaps you should expand on that question so I don't go down the wrong trail.
Politics is probably involved in every endeavor, and most associations have a political component to them.
Oh, absolutely.
And you recognize that. What politics did you want to either change or take advantage of?
Well, I was on the first board that passed motions concerning contracts with parties of interest. I was really active and passionate about that. So politically, that if I had a platform, that was one of my platforms, was that we wanted to John Prout was my president, and Mike Brentano was on that board, Jim Waitala, and myself, I remember as being pretty strong anti-contracting advocates. So from that political standpoint, you know, if I had a platform, that was probably it.
You obviously have recognized, developed a peer group, identified a peer group. How do you think that reporting peer group would want to be remembered?
Interesting. You know, when I think back to the folks that I served with, my contemporaries, I think that the one thing that we would hope would be that people would say we made a difference.
So your peer group then decides to get together to reminisce about you, and they would say, she is...
The lady in red. No, I don't know. I think they would probably say that I was just crazy enough to love this. I mean, if you can't laugh, you'll cry, and I always went into this with a sense of humor. And I'd like to think they would say I was fun at parties.
How would you like to see your contributions to the profession remembered?
How would I like to see them remembered? I think it's more important. The individual pieces, I don't, you know, we're all who's. After the minute we walk off the stage, nobody remembers who we are. So I guess my contribution, I would much rather just have people remember NCRA as a unit during the years that I was on the board. And if they would say that, you know, NCRA really got it right. You know, in 2002, that was a strong, vibrant association. Rather than talk about Laurel Eiler, talk about NCRA, the unit, because when you're president, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So that's what I would like them to remember.
Well said. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for participating. Enjoyed it. Have a great convention.
Thank you.